We always think we know what's going to happen. We spend so much of our time planning for the future and trying to predict the future. And I've been wrong so many times when I've tried to predict the future. And that's kind of comforting to me. Oh boy, welcome back to Not For Everyone. This is a podcast hosted by a lover. Our hater is in the city of love, and I am taking over today. And it is an oh boy. That is, I started the episode with an oh boy, because am I in a mindset to talk to thousands of people right now? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say it's recommended. You know what's even worse? It's the day after my vacation and I already feel crazy. I feel like I'm spiraling. I opened my work email and Slack this morning to so much. And I don't feel particularly compelling. Maybe I feel relatable. Is this relatable to people? Do you like that? Do you like that I'm feel like a crazy person as soon as I get back to work? This isn't normal, guys. Okay, I can't make this about that. I am a person whose coworkers could listen to this. I can't make this about that. Things are really good. I relaxed. No, our vacation was great. Ryan and I went to Mexico City for 4 or 5 days, and we had such a great time. On the last day, we were trying to scheme how we could stay longer. There was not apparently, I'm here now, and I can confirm there's snow on the ground. There was snow in Chicago while we were in Mexico City on our last day there, and it was just like, do we have to go? We actually thought maybe our flight would get affected by that and canceled and the government shutdown and everything. Like, we thought there was a good chance our flight wouldn't happen. And so we thought, why don't we just do the airlines a favor and just push it anyway? And I didn't have my laptop with me, so I would just have to tell work like, oh, we got stranded, sorry, and have a few more days of vacation. So we really looked at that, but all the other flight options were quite expensive and it just didn't make sense. We didn't have like a cancelable, changeable ticket. Honestly, you know the thing where like when you're buying plane tickets, you are so cheap. You're like the cheapest version of yourself, where maybe there's a ticket for $300 and then there's a ticket for $330. And the $330 would mean you could change it, you could cancel it, you could get your bags on board for free. But you're like, no, I'm going to take the basic fare and save that $30 only to spend however much more later when you do have to change it or you do need to check your bag. I need to learn from that. Just because there's a basic fare that is lower than the other one doesn't mean that I'm not going to need to spend that money anyway. Think about future Jess. So yeah, we ended up sticking with our regular flight. And then, I kid you not, we wake up in the morning to get to the airport, to get to our flight as scheduled, regularly scheduled programming, and we were late for our flight. We did not calculate how long it would take for our Uber to get to us and then to get to the airport. Like, it was just all kind of not thought through in the best way, or we underestimated how much time we would need. And we got to the airport and they had just closed boarding or whatever. Anyway, it sucked. And we did not have refundable tickets. We did not have changeable tickets. So we just lost that. And by that point, we were packed and at the airport and frustrated. And so we didn't want to stay. Like, there was a moment of like, is this our cue to actually stay here longer? But by that point, you want to leave. You're like, I'm already in my winter coat, getting in the mindset of being back home. And so we just bought a new flight for the same day. And that was a blow to the ego and a blow to the wallet. And here I am now. Here I am. The next day, just questioning all of my choices. But no, this is going to be a fun episode, okay? This is going to be fun. If you're watching on video, then I'm just going to put some photos of our Mexico City trip on in the background, some slideshow moments. You could also follow me at JZDeBakey on Instagram if you want the inside track on like food that I ate, because I'm going to be doing a whole post about Mexico City and just all of the tacos, and I'll share my list of recommendations and everything. So go there for that. And we're not going to talk about me anymore for the rest of the episode. We're going to talk about you. We got a few different emails over the last month or so that I saved. I put away in my little folder. Not a big folder, just a little folder of emails that I felt were right for me to answer. If you listen to this episode and feel like I have something I could write into that end, please do. You can email us anytime at not4everyonepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at the same handle. Send us your WHATADOs. Send us your dilemmas. We actually have an Ask a Therapist episode coming up in a few weeks. So great one to submit an email and ask a professional rather than just me and Caroline what to do about a certain situation in your life. So I will just find the first one and jump right in. Some WHATADOs from our lovable kooks. This listener writes, I had a best friend for 7 years through high school and college. We were like sisters. Like maid of honor, nothing can separate us, finish each other's sentences. During the pandemic, we drifted apart after she got a new boyfriend, and we just stopped talking. Aside from a brief exchange in 2021, we hadn't spoken until this past year. I've never met her boyfriend or seen her in person since then. P.S. I'm super avoidant in general and have been working on this for the last few years. Our moms are still close and had been encouraging us to reconnect, so when she got engaged and invited me to her wedding via Instagram DM just months before the date, part of me wondered if her mom had pressured her to do it. I was initially thrilled, but quickly realized I barely knew her anymore. Attending would have cost around $2,000 US, and it felt strange to show up at such a personal event when we hadn't really been in each other's lives for years. This really weighed on me and gave me a lot of anxiety thinking about all that had been left unsaid. After talking to my therapist, who encouraged me to reach out and be upfront with my feelings, I called her and explained that I still loved and supported her, but didn't feel right attending without rebuilding our friendship first. She was kind but hesitant, and afterwards, she stopped engaging with me online. I struggled a lot with how to phrase this, so it didn't come off as selfish from my end, but I don't think it worked, LOL. I hated the thought of possibly adding on more stress to her during the happiest time of her life. Since then, I've had zero communication from her. And I noticed on a recent wedding post on her Instagram, I left a comment, and while she liked all the other comments, she left mine unliked. Silly detail to notice, I know, but I can't help it. Now I can't stop wondering if she feels hurt or thinks I was selfish. Is it unreasonable for me to hope that we will still have a chance to reconnect? During our call, she said she wanted to, but now I worry she's had time to reflect and feels differently. I'm worried that I hurt her and feel it's a shame that after it finally took me so much time to open up to her, I lost my chance. This message stood out to me because I could have written it. Not that I've been in the exact same situation, but I've been in a very similar friendship dynamic. A friendship that meant a lot to me, that faded away for reasons that I didn't really understand. I didn't have clarity on at the time. And I took to be personal about me or to have to do with the friend getting into a relationship. And it's like as soon as I made peace with the idea, like I'm never getting this person back and that's okay, I can move on with my life, they reached out. And sure enough, it was kind of inspired by the fact that they were getting married and they felt weird not inviting me to that. They wanted me to be there. And it actually, in our situation, opened up a dialogue where we could talk about what had happened for the past years where we were not in contact. And we could both say what we needed to say. And I kind of got the apology I needed. I got the reassurance that I needed. I still felt that it would take time to build trust again and get back to the place that we had been in. I actually also kind of understood within myself that we might never get back to the place that we used to be in. And maybe that was for the best. Like our friendship was something, and then it came to an end, or really to a pause, but a very long pause. And now rebuilding it, it's going to look different. And I was okay with that. And I wanted to go to this person's wedding because ultimately I still wanted them to be a friend and be in my life, even if it looked different than it did before, even if we had this long break, even if all this pain had happened. And I went, and I'm glad I went. And also it was like awkward and hard for me in a way to be there and to go. You know, we've actually talked about that too. And now I feel like all of these steps along the way of going through these ups and downs of friendship and the need to rebuild a friendship have actually made us closer in a way. They've actually built trust more than we had it before, because we've gone through something where trust was broken, and the act of rebuilding it has been very intentional and has required a lot of direct communication, and it feels good. It feels adult. It feels mature. And it's because we had to put in this work. I guess I say all that to say that I'm really familiar with the feelings that the listener described, the feelings of not knowing the right way to repair, not feeling like the other person's way of showing up for repair is what you really wanted, then feeling like maybe I blew my shot, then making a lot of assumptions about how they feel. You know, the listener wrote, I worry she's had time to reflect and feels differently. After they had already had some conversation about rebuilding their friendship, and after this person had reached out to invite the listener to their wedding, she's still like, oh, I don't know, maybe she changed her mind. It was just such an example, this DM, this email, of how we get in our own way and how people miss each other so easily. Because something similar was going on with my friend that I described. Like, let's say we were not in communication for 4 years. For the first 2 years, this person was really going through it, and I was really going through it, not having them in my life anymore. And then let's say at the midpoint, they actually realized like they had worked through a lot of this stuff, and they wanted me back in their life, and they wanted to explain everything, and they wanted to rebuild trust. And then still another 2 years went by before they reached out to me. And I learned in our conversation, once we got to the rebuilding stage, that they just felt like too much time had passed, and they felt like I probably changed my mind about wanting to be in their life, and just things would be too different. They were making assumptions about my readiness to rebuild rather than just reaching out and seeing if I wanted to rebuild. By the same token, I was making assumptions about the reason that they had disappeared from my life. And it turned out, once we connected and talked it through, that my assumptions were very wrong, and there was a totally different thing going on that didn't actually have to do with me. And we were just missing each other. Like, we now talk about how much we thought of each other that whole time, how much we wanted to reach out and rebuild, but we were missing each other. Like, we were two ships in the night. And I feel like that could be some of what's going on with this listener and her friend. It is frustrating that your friend reached out via Instagram to invite you to her wedding just a couple months before the date. And it is frustrating that you never got to meet her partner, and it is awkward to go to her wedding when you haven't been in touch for a long time and you don't know the partner and you have such a history where you used to be so close. And it is notable that she liked all the comments on that Instagram post except for yours after you didn't go to the wedding. All of this makes sense. And still, I think that from my own experience, when friendships that are so deep and meaningful break up, we get in our own way of what we really want, because we're thinking like, I think it has to do with ego, honestly. It's like, oh, they hurt me. They left my life for a really long time. Should I let them back? Would I be disrespecting myself if I let them back? Or, oh, they invited me in this way, and I really wish they had put more thought and intentionality behind that. And would I be losing my self-respect if I still went? I think these are some of the things that end up being at play. And did you say that? No, I want to be very clear. And I'm not blaming you, by the way. I'm not blaming you. It's so human for that to come up. It's so human for our ego to come up and to want to protect us and say, do you really want to let them hurt you all over again? It's protective. That's what our egos do to us. And it's really hard to override that. And it's not always right to override it. It's not always right. And maybe you had a gut feeling that was like, no, going to this wedding doesn't feel good to me and I'm just not going to do it. And that's fine. You set a boundary, that's fine. But if you still want this friendship and the last move was that, I mean, I understand you had a phone call and you described it as like kind of nice. Maybe she was just going through the motions. I don't know. I can understand why she might have been hurt. She invited you to the wedding. That was the first outreach in a long time. And you declined, which is okay. But maybe she is expecting you to make a little more of the next move. Because her ego is protecting her too. Her ego is coming into play. It's not just yours. So I'm not taking sides. I relate to you. But because I relate to you, and I've been in a similar situation before, I am speaking from a biased experience, and I'm speaking from an experience where it actually ended up well. And I guess I'm trying to get you to see that she's having her own process around this too. She's having the avoidance that you're having. She's having the ego that you're having. She's having the protective mechanisms that you're having. And if that goes on forever, you'll continue to miss each other forever. Her not liking your comment on Instagram, ego. And that's not a crime. It doesn't mean don't be friends with this person. They have a big ego. No, we all do. And it's one of you will have to get over it. And I think she tried to with the wedding invite. And it's okay that didn't feel right to you, but maybe she feels like it's your turn now. Okay, you had a call. You initiated that call, I assume. Maybe one more thing. Take one more step. If you ended that call in a way that was like, yeah, we both want to work on this, take one next step. If she doesn't pick up that thread from you, then you have your answer maybe. But if she does, then congratulations, you got over your ego and you got over your avoidance and you got the both of you to where you want to be. It's a hard situation. It's not going to go easy and fun. Like, go to the wedding, don't go to the wedding, have a follow-up call, don't have a follow-up call, become friends again, don't become friends again. It's hard. It's not something where we can control every aspect of it and feel good about every aspect of it and have it be the ideal state that we envision, because there's another person here too, and we can't control how they're going to show up. We can't control all the assumptions that they're making about us. We can't control how their ego is trying to protect them. And so I just think there is an element of these types of dynamics and these types of situations. If you want the friend back, I'm assuming you want the friend back. That's what you've kind of conveyed in your message. And if you want the friend back and they want you back, and I am also assuming that at least was true at a time, because she invited you to her wedding and you had a phone call where she expressed, wanting to work on it. So I'm assuming both of these people, based on what I know, want each other back. And if you want that, then you have to let the guard down, let the ego down, push through the avoidance, push through the fact that it's going to be hard. It's not going to look exactly how we'd love for it to look. It's not going to be all clean and pretty. And then we had this conversation and everything was better. You have to make those compromises, I think. I think relationships a lot of times are about compromise. And I think we've confused ourselves as a society because we're all about like boundaries and self-respect and, holding people to a certain standard. And all of that is very important. Don't get me wrong. But there's another side of the coin that is just like, if you in your heart and your gut know that this is a person who you love and who loves you and who you want back in your life and who wants you back in their life, then you have to take the risk. You have to allow for the discomfort. You have to put your assumptions aside and go talk to them and ask and rebuild actively. You have to work on it together actively. Now, if she doesn't show up for that, then you have your answer. And I know you're feeling like that's so scary. Maybe she's changed her mind and she doesn't want this anymore. But right now, it doesn't feel great either. Right now, you're in limbo and you're stressing about this and you're sad about this. Wouldn't it be better to just know? Focusing on the facts. What is true? There's a bunch of stuff that you've made up in your head. And I say that with love because I make up so much stuff in my head. But you have to separate that from what is actually true. I would take out a piece of paper and write a list of all the facts of the situation. Go through the email that you sent us and highlight the parts that are facts. Based on that, I think there's enough data to show that taking the risk is worth it. I hope you get your friend back. I feel like my heart is full again now that I have mine back from a very similar seeming situation. And it took compromise, patience, understanding, benefit of the doubt. I'm just listing the hardest parts of relationships. Okay, good luck. One thing about me is that I'm gonna sleep in a big t-shirt. But another thing about me is that I'm gonna hang out all day in a pajama set. There is nothing like waking up in the morning and taking off my sleep shirt and putting on my day pajamas. And there is also nothing like getting home from a night out with girlfriends, taking off my jeans and putting on my day pajamas. Yes, until I go to bed and change back into the sleep shirt. It's a cycle and it keeps me well, okay? And nothing makes that cycle better than my new soft lounge sleep set from Skims. I cannot. I feel like the material is like a little bit weighted and heavy and, dare I say, cooling. Like, it's just this amazing fluid ribbed material that is the perfect balance of lightweight and breathable and cooling, but also like thick and hugging and stretchy and comfortable. I have taken them off as little as possible. And that will be how you find me this winter season. Shop our favorite pajamas at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcasts in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for everyone on your list, the Skims holiday shop is now open at skims.com. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We get a lot of emails about accessing therapy, questions about how to choose a therapist, where to go to afford therapy. And I work in the mental health field, so I really understand just how much of a barrier there is for people to actually get the care that they need. And by the way, when I say care, it makes it sound super medical and serious. If you are anxious in dating, if you are stressed at work, if you are overwhelmed by sadness because it's dark outside, whatever it is, therapy is the right resource to just go and have a safe space to talk to somebody. I feel like some of you have been putting it off. I feel like these emails are telling me you're putting it off. There's an easy way to find that person, and it's BetterHelp. They have over 30,000 therapists and one of the largest online therapy platforms in the world. They make it more affordable and more convenient to get therapy, and there's no time like the present to start. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/notforeveryone. That's betterhelp.com/notforeveryone. I've mentioned recently that I've been working with a dietitian on just like making sure that I get nutritious food, protein-packed food, just fueling myself with like ideally a higher ratio of vegetables to sour candy. And it is just a fact that I feel better when I am cooking HelloFresh meals. It's always been this way. I've used HelloFresh on and off for years, and it's the perfect balance of giving me structure and giving me a plan for what my recipes are going to be each week, while also giving me flexibility where I can skip a week, I can select which meals I want each week. I don't have to go to the grocery store, so I get that time back. It makes me less reliant on my boyfriend to cook all my meals for me, which is great, but sometimes I feel like I should be contributing and I should be honestly signing off of work at the end of the day to go cook a meal. Like, it's a good thing to do for yourself. And I hate recipe planning, but I like that feeling. The best way to cook just got better. Go to hellofresh.com/notforeveryone10fm now to get 10 free meals plus a free breakfast for life. One per box with active subscription. Free meals applied at discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's hellofresh.com/notforeveryone10fm to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. On to the next listener submission that I could have written to my own show. The title is Finding Purpose Without Parenthood. Yikes. I don't have the answers. Okay, here we go. First off, I'm a big fan of the show. Every episode feels like a hug for my soul. Love you, bitch. Okay. I'll get straight to the point. My husband and I are both on the same page about not wanting to have kids. We've felt this way since the very beginning of our relationship. We do leave space for reconsideration in case one of us changes our mind someday. But deep down, I know that's unlikely, and honestly, I'm completely okay, even happy with that. I want to emphasize that this is entirely my own decision. No one, not even my husband, has influenced it, and vice versa. After seeing my family and spending an evening with them last week, I realized for the first time that my 60s through 80s might look very different. Realistically, my parents will be long gone and my friends might be quite old or gone as well. My sister might not live nearby or even in the same country, so we probably won't see each other very often. The warmth I feel now when I spend time with my family won't be something I can rely on when I'm older. I may not have that comforting sense of being with loved ones anymore. The things I enjoy doing now might not be as exciting when I'm 75 or 80, and that got me thinking, what will I be living for then? What will my reason to wake up in the morning be at that age? Sometimes I wonder if it's a mistake not to have kids, but at the same time, I don't want to have children just to have someone to call when I'm bored or lonely later in life. That doesn't feel like a good enough reason, and it feels a bit selfish. I shared these thoughts with my husband, and he feels the same way. We still don't want to have kids, but the question remains, what will give our lives meaning when we're old? Jess mentioned on the podcast that she's also not having kids, so I'm curious, have you ever thought about this, and what's your perspective on it? My perspective is that I want to give you a hug. I've definitely had similar thoughts and feelings before. I think it's actually a good thing to be thinking about that. Like, it's a big decision to have kids, and it's a big decision not to have kids. And I think that anyone considering children should think about all of these things. Like, these are all the right inputs into deciding what is best for you. And I agree with you personally that wanting to ensure that you will have family and purpose and community in your older age, or for some people, it's even wanting to ensure that you'll have people to take care of you in your older age. I don't personally believe that to be a good enough reason to have kids. It's skipping over a whole bunch of stuff of actually raising the kids, which is very hard, and not everyone's cut out for it. Not everybody wants to do it, has the energy to do it, has the prioritization of their life to do it. And that's like a lot of years before you get to that end point where your kids take care of you or talk to you on the phone when you're bored or what have you, spend the holidays with you. So your logic is sound as far as I'm concerned, and it's still a thing to grieve. Anything that we're choosing not to do requires grieving. And actually, anything we're choosing not to do opens up the ability to do something else. But that requires grieving too. Like, choosing not to have kids opens up a world of possibilities of what your future can look like. just as choosing to have kids would. It's just a bunch of different possibilities. They look different, but everybody has opportunity. Everybody has possibility. Calm down, parents. Calm down. I have parents. I love parents. I have lots of friends who are parents. I admire and respect their choice to do that. And I love their kids, and I don't want any of my own. And it's because the world of possibility and of opportunity for my life to look a certain way looks better to me without kids than it does with kids. But that doesn't mean there's nothing I'm going to miss out on. There's a lot I'm going to miss out on. And I just see it as choosing other things. Parents are also missing out on things. They've chosen different things. Does this make sense? Seems obvious, maybe. We all have to choose what's best for us and then grieve the stuff that's not, so that we can go forward into what we actually want. Okay, let's actually talk about the purpose thing. Let's get a little more specific. This is the sentence that stood out to me in your email the most. I may not have that comforting sense of being with loved ones anymore. Girl, are you expecting to not have any loved ones? When you're 60 through 80, that's it? No more loved ones for you? First of all, knock on wood, hope for the health and wellness of you and your partner. You're going to have your partner, okay? It's funny, our editor, Abby, wrote a, what do you call it? Entry? Wrote a Substack. Do you just call the article itself a Substack? Wrote a stack. Is it a stack or is it a sub? Anyway, she wrote an article on her Substack just the other day about anticipating motherhood. She's pregnant and it's super exciting. And it's also super scary. And it's brought all these feelings up, obviously, as anyone would feel a bunch of different ways about that. And something that she was describing in this article was this fear of feeling so alone. It's just like this thing that's repeated to her, like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. And then she looks up and clears the fog in her brain. And she's like, whoa, but there's my husband right there. And he's like this great guy. And he is going to be a great dad in all these ways. And he's shown me all these reasons over all the time that we've been together why I can rely on him and he won't leave me alone. And I will have a partner in this. And it was just so relatable to me to read this Substack of hers. Abby, can you put your Substack in the description of the episode so that people can access it? Abby's Substack is linked in the description. It was so relatable because we all get in our heads in this way. And I think feeling alone and the fear of loneliness, the fear of being alone at the end of life, the fear of being alone through hard things, it's like so pervasive and it makes us forget all of what we have. Like, at least for me, my life is so abundant with so many loving relationships and people. I have my partner. We have decided that we don't want kids, but we do want family. First of all, we're each other's family. We want family with each other's families. We want family with our friends. We want to be in the lives of our friends' kids. One of my best friends has a little girl who's 1.5 now. Multiple of my friends are expecting or just recently had their first child. And I'm like hype to be the rich aunt, the cool aunt, the fun auntie. Like, I want to be in the lives of these people. I want to be extended family to them. And yeah, you could think about it in a more negative way of like, okay, well, that's true, but they aren't my family. And everybody just ends up spending time with their family and not actually their friends anymore. But I don't know. Can't we rewrite that? Can't we write whatever we want to write with the people in our lives as long as they want to write it too? I just try to look at it with hope and abundance rather than pessimism and a fear of loneliness. After all, it's something I'm choosing. Remind yourself it's something you're choosing and go through the grieving. I mean, I don't think I've completed the grieving. I think about this stuff too. I'm not trying to say that I've figured it out, but whenever I get into one of those spirals, I process it. I come back down to earth. I remind myself of what I'm getting by giving something up and why I'm making the choices that I'm making. And another thing, we always think we know what's going to happen. We spend so much of our time planning for the future and trying to predict the future. And I've been wrong so many times when I've tried to predict the future. And that's kind of comforting to me because I have a tendency as an anxious person to project into the future and make it look real bad. Like, I know how to make the future look so scary and so sad and so upsetting and so opposite of what I want it to look like. And then I remember that every time I've tried to predict the future, whether I've thought it was going to go well or go poorly or anything in between, I've been wrong. Maybe I haven't been wrong about every single thing, but I've been wrong a lot of the time. I love that saying that's like 75% of the things you worry about don't even happen. It is so true. Don't quote me on the actual percentage. I actually think it's more like 90. I don't know if that's scientific, but whatever. It's like you see it on Instagram and I believe it. And it reminds me to be present again because, okay, if I'm wrong when I'm thinking negatively about the future, then I'm also probably wrong when I'm thinking positively about the future. And those thoughts kind of balance each other out. Oh, that sucks. Like, I'm envisioning getting a Grammy one day. I'm probably wrong. Okay, but I'm also envisioning having no loved ones when I'm older. Probably wrong about that too. Let's just meet in the middle and be present and focus on building the life I want. Do I want a Grammy? Maybe that, future looking hallucination tells me I want that. Okay, then let me build towards that. Do I want a feeling of warmth and community and family when I'm older? Okay. I'm afraid I won't have it. Cool, that also tells me I want it. So how can I build towards that? Invest in your people, invest in community, put in effort when your friends have kids. Take them some food to eat and offer to babysit or walk their dog or to come over for dinner and bring takeout rather than expecting them to get a babysitter and go out and meet you every time, because it also means you're building that home feeling together. It's not just about let's go out for drinks, don't bring the kids. It's about, can I come over and hang out on your couch and start to create that feeling of home? Like, you can have that now. And then that sets you up more to have it later. Here's the other thing I'll say. Yes, invest in the people who are around you now. And many of those people can be people who become your extended family and who they and their families are around you when you're older. But there's also so much that can change and so much that can happen. My parents snowbird, so they spend a few months of the year in the DC area where I grew up, but then they're spending more and more time down in Florida. They bought a place there. It's warm. They just like to get away from the cold. I mean, I live in Chicago, so I think that's a joke, but for them, the DC cold is enough to escape from. And they have made so many friends in their community in Florida. They are so popular. I actually called my mom today, and we haven't talked in a few days, and she was too busy. She answered, and she was like mixing drinks for her gal pals, and then she was like distracted and talking to someone else on the side, and then she told me she had to call me later. I don't know when I'll hear from her again. Like, that girl's gone, okay? What I'm saying is she's a parent. Her kids are around. We call her. We visit them for the holidays. We have that feeling of family that you're talking about. But she also has so much more community than I even know about or that I'm even a part of. And those are actually the people she's spending day to day with, because I don't live where she lives and my sister doesn't live where she lives. We're not going to live in Florida. We still have family and we still have love and we still have that warmth and community. And when we're together, it's wonderful, but we're not together most of the time. I mean, sure, okay, I do talk to her on the phone. You described the thing of talking to her on the phone, but I talk to other people on the phone way more. I actually hate talking on the phone also. I actually don't want people to talk on the phone with. But I want people to have community with, and I want my mom to have that and my dad, and I want them to have it without me. I guess my point is like whether you're planning to have kids or not, I find it so important to establish that loving community that you can spend your days with and fill your time with and rely on and count on and celebrate with and, mourn with and all of the above. You need it within your family and without. Is that correct grammar? Without, I guess. Yeah. I almost would encourage you to like separate the kids thing from this. Yes, I understand why those two things feel so connected, but they can also be separate because you've already made the kid's decision. So it's kind of like it's not on the table anymore. Now what you are left with is what does life look like instead? And how do I still get the things that I want? And that's what you need to build towards. And I honestly think you're way ahead of the game because a lot of people just expect that because they want kids and because they want that traditional family, they're not going to have to worry about this. But when your kids don't live where you live, like my mom and my dad's kids don't live where they live, you got to make community some other way. And they're in their 60s. My dad's turning 70 in a couple years. They need what you're describing too. They needed to build it too. And they have kids who can talk to them on the phone and come visit them. Okay. I hope that helps. It helped me. That was like very much for me. This whole episode's for me. All right. I found this message in our DMs that says, "Hi, Jess and Caroline. Your podcast is the only one I'll listen to regularly. Thank you for making such enjoyable and authentic content. I'm sure I'm not the first one to say this to you, but hot takes on the Vogue article from a few days ago, quote, is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend? It made me sigh a sad sigh for how much power people give to their algorithms." Okay, I should probably read the article, right? I can't like speak on it if I don't read it. I would be reacting to a headline, which I do. But apparently I have a enjoyable and authentic podcast. And so I don't want to jeopardize that. Let me do my scientific research for a second. I'm back. Obviously, the headline is inflammatory for a reason. Okay, clicks are everything. I'm going to title this podcast in a way to get you to click it. We just accept that about the world that we live in. So I will start there. The article does couch this statement, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now, by, of course, reminding us that love is to be celebrated and there's no shame and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. I agree. Love is good. Okay, now that we've gotten the basics out of the way. I feel like the article is really more about social media and how the shift in how women want to present on social media, or what is the trendy way to present on social media. And I'm like throwing up in my mouth as I say this because I find it so annoying that there are social trends that are being tracked via social media. I mean, in fact, it's probably the main place and the main way that we are now tracking societal norms. But it makes me think about, psychology and anthropology classes I took in college that were tracking social norms in like ancient times and earlier parts of our history. And it was less annoying. It felt more research, like longitudinal research about humans, as opposed to like, oh, now I'm noticing that the girlies don't want to post their boyfriends anymore. So yes, it's all annoying, but I do find it interesting. I've been getting this article fed to me a lot. And as a person who has a boyfriend and who does sometimes cringe at the word boyfriend, because I'm 34 years old and I've been with my boyfriend for a while and we live together and we want to be together long term. And like, we just, everybody has their own timeline and I'm very comfortable with where we are in our relationship. But the word boyfriend does dumb it down a little bit. The man is in his 40s. Like, please. So I would say that the word is kind of embarrassing, but having a boyfriend, this whole article is just about how there's a shift towards being more subtle about your partner online, like posting a picture with his hand on a cup, but you can't see his face, or maybe not posting him at all. And the few people that do still post about their boyfriend, their viewers don't like it and they want to just mute them or unfollow them because I followed you for you, not for your boyfriend. And it's just like, oh my God. I feel like this premise exists in a world in which each of us is an influencer. And I think that that's what Instagram wants its users to feel. They want it to feel like, yeah, like this is your platform. Everybody has a platform. Whether you have 10 followers or 10,000 or 10 million, it's your platform and it represents you and you get to influence whatever community and whatever topics in whatever way you want. And here's all these tools at your fingertips. You have exactly the same tools that Kim Kardashian has. Go have at it. And I think that that's fun in a way. Obviously, I'm a person who is fostering a very small following, but I got it. I have some of you. And I have a podcast that a lot of people listen to. And I fashion myself some sort of a small public figure, but I don't really like curate my content online as much as I think some younger women, like people in their 20s who came up with social media and came up with Instagram and are used to this notion of like everybody has a platform, everybody is their own mini influencer. I as somebody who is somewhat of, I hate to even call myself an influencer. I'm not, but like whatever, I'm in a field where that's adjacent to what I do as a podcaster. I feel like I'm doing less curation and less thinking about, do I show my boyfriend? Do I not show my boyfriend? What is the content? How do I want to come off? What is cool? What is not cool? Than the younger generation, like an average 22-year-old who has no YouTube channel and no podcast and none of this, but just has her Instagram profile. She's thinking about it more than I am. And so maybe to her, it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend. I don't know. She probably would judge me. Not for having a boyfriend, but for posting about him. I don't know. It's so crazy because there's the other side of things where like there was a time when it was a thing in dating, and it probably still is, of like, oh my God, he won't post you. Like if he doesn't want to post you, then he's not that serious about you. And I think probably a lot of the people who agree with this having a boyfriend is lame thing online would be the same people who feel that way, who are like, oh no, but the guy should post you. And then it just gets into these weird gender differences and like this culture of men should worship the ground that women walk on and women should pretend that men don't exist. And like, trust me, I get it. And I am the queen of my household. And I don't know, like I can be a petty bitch. I understand. I can be self-centered. I can be like, yeah, I'm the one who gets to be the star and men ain't shit. I understand all of these things. But at the same time, it's like when it all comes back to social media and we see that the trends change so easily, like, why are we anchoring so much on it? Like 5 years ago, it was cool to post your boyfriend on Instagram. Well, maybe cool is not the right word, but it was definitely the norm. And it was like single folks would scroll on Instagram and describe feeling, and I was one of these people, feeling insecure because all of their friends are posting with their boyfriends, but, you know, I don't have one and I don't have anyone to post. And then when you meet someone, it's like, oh, he better post me. I don't want to post him before he posts me. And it's like this whole freaking thing. And 5 years later, it's like, oh no, we don't do that. We don't talk about dating. We don't show that we're dating anyone. I think the good part of it is like kind of what I just described. Like it is more celebrated and normalized and almost like put on a pedestal to be single. Like I think it's probably a little bit cooler these days to be single than to be in a relationship. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that as somebody who's in a relationship. Like, I wish that was the case when I was single. And I want any of my single friends to feel so good about themselves and so empowered. And so if that's the takeaway from this having a boyfriend is embarrassing now trend, then great. I love that part of it. But I just think the whole premise, and this is kind of what the listener who wrote in said, is so, it makes me bang my head against the wall. She said, it made me sigh, a sad sigh for how much power people give to their algorithms. Yeah. And I think it is exactly this thing I'm saying of like younger generations than me grew up with Instagram as just like a baseline thing. And I mean, I'm talking about Instagram, and probably they're on some other social media site that I don't even know about. I don't even know to reference it. But whatever social media they're using, TikTok, I don't know, like it's just so table stakes and commonplace to them. And it is this culture of everyone has a platform that they get to curate. And with that comes like changing trends. It's not just posting. Instagram used to be like posting the latte that you had in the morning and then posting a picture of you and your girlfriends on a night out, and then posting a picture of you and your boyfriend at your friend's wedding. And like people who post that way now, me included, are old. We're old. It's not how it's used anymore. And I'm okay with that. And if having a boyfriend is embarrassing, I'm happy for my single friends, and I will continue to be embarrassing. I don't know, because that's going to change in like another 5 years. It's going to flip again. This is the reason just not to base anything off of any of this. Just do what you damn want. Do what you damn want. That was a weird way to say that. Do what you maybe want. Oh my God. Feels vile to say that alone on the podcast today. Like that really came out. That was graphic. So I'll stick with do what you damn want. Oh, I have a quick update. I talked a while ago on a very old episode of Not For Everyone where I was solo about art. I talked about how I felt like 2025, I think it was at the beginning of this year, and it was like my predictions for 2025 or something. And one of the things I said, maybe it was predictions for 2024. I don't know what year it was. It's almost been 3 years of the podcast, if you can believe. But the point is, I talked about my predictions for the year. And one of the things I said was like buying unique art is a thing. I don't know. That was probably a little pretentious of me. But I was coming from a place of being a girl that only bought art from like Urban Outfitters and Society 6 and just bought these like basic prints that everybody has or everybody's seen in some basic coffee shop. And I wanted to shift into really finding pieces that moved me, meant something to me, sparked joy. And I've bought 2 pieces, really 3, if you consider that the second one is 2 side-by-side art pieces together, in the last year that are so happy to me. One of them is a mirror that has painted on it. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, actually. It's like this mid-century wooden framed mirror that has artwork painted on the glass that looks like a hanging plant in a window. And it's so cute. I got it at this vintage market in Chicago, and I definitely paid too much for it, but I just loved it when I walked by it and I needed to have it. And now I see it every day and it makes me so happy. And the next thing I bought was in Mexico City. We went into this art gallery called Mooney, which is pretty well known. Like, it's not a deep cut at all. I don't feel like overly cool about that discovery, but I found this art piece, or I walked in and saw this art piece on the wall. It was 2 prints side by side, or not even prints. They're like the original art, side by side of this green frame with a green painting inside that has these little cows pasted on it. These little pencil drawn cows. And there's like 5 little cows on one of them and there's 6 little cows on the other. And it's mostly this big backdrop of green. Like from far away, you would just think these are green, just a slab of green on the wall. But then you get closer and you see these little cows. And I squealed with glee when I saw them and brought them home with me. I was thinking about them. I saw them on our first day in Mexico City and then slept on it for the next 2 days. And I kept every day we would walk by Mooney and I would walk in to make sure that the cows were still there because I slept on it. And by that, I mean, I thought about them as I went to sleep every night. Like I loved them so much. And then on our last day, went and bought them and now they're hanging in our home and they bring me so much joy. And so I'd like to say that my prediction came to fruition. I set an intention. Some of us do New Year's resolutions. I just say I'm going to buy stuff and then I go do it. And that's how I make things happen in my life. No, but this art is making me so happy. And I really, really encourage people to, I don't know, keep your eyes peeled for art that sparks joy and just bring it home with you if it does, because it's a special feeling. I guess if I'm going to be pretentious and talk about art, I can also talk about reading for a little bit, give a little reading update. I am continuing to read. I've been consistent with my 1 book a month. My favorite book I've read so far is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I love it. I think anyone would love it. It is a really beautiful book. It's beautiful. It's everything. Please read it. If you've read it, message me about it. And now I'm reading The Silent Patient. This is one that we're reading in my new book club, which I mentioned on the podcast. It's really good so far. It's fascinating. Yeah. Very different from the other books I've read. You can add me on Goodreads if you want. I'm always looking for some requests, so find me there. I think it's the same as my Instagram, JZDeBakey. And that's it. I'm done being artsy and I'm done being a reader for today. I'm done being a talker too. I'm going to go turn off my brain and watch some Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. If you want more of me, I already told you my Instagram. I also think you should go listen to my other podcast, Peaking. I'll link it down below. And if you don't want to do any of those things, that's fine. I'll still be here next week with Caroline. You're not getting rid of me and you're not getting rid of us. Okay. Kisses. Toodaloo. Mwah.